Pakistan, and so you had basically everyone who was Hindu had to leave that land, go back into India, and then they were replaced by the now Pakistanis. So you had this big switch of land and ownership, and that's always been contentious. There's also been there's not a few, there's some pretty major terrorist attacks. One was a hotel, I believe, in Mumbai, and a while ago. But there's been other ones too. I haven't had any problems, with anyone when I travel. But then I am, I don't know, slightly viewed as an outsider. I mean, obviously my Hindi is not technically fluent and kind of sucks now. But actually, the funny thing is, I often get asked if I'm from Kashmir, because it is much northern, but it does have a more majority Muslim, and my skin is really pale. Like, I have really dark hair, I have like greenish dark eyes, and my skin is really pale. But because I can, I'm speaking Hindi, or I'm like, wearing something that is culturally kind of worn there, it throws people off. And so I've had multiple questions of, you look Kashmiri or something, and I'm like, well, I'm very flattered, like, thank you. But no, I'm not. But I'm trying to figure out sort of a little bit of what to say to them, but not come off as kind of like I don't know, like a fine line, because I don't actually live there 24/7. I mean, I've lived there, but it's, what he talks about is something that I definitely am not as affected by. So I want to have a little discourse. I was trying to figure out kind of how to say it, but that would have been interesting. I just not totally sure how I would have approached it. But discussions are really good. So good point, Rohan.
Oh, you're welcome, indeed. Look, I think I find it actually a little bit difficult to approach the conversation that he wants to be able to have, and I recognise, and I know some very basic history of the region, and to the point of saying, 1947 there were 14 million people who were displaced in the region when India and Pakistan were effectively being created as a nation as we know it today, or between, and also that over 1 million people were killed during that process as well. Suffice to say, there's still conflict in that region, and ongoing fights. I find it really difficult to, I guess, buy into conversations where I really don't have enough knowledge about it, and that's definitely one area. The other part is that as much as it's easy for people to put on labels, well, you're this, you're that, you're racist, you're bigoted, you're anti-Semite, you're Islamophobe, whatever it might be. It's very contentious stuff. Suffice to say that I do have some valid reasons to have a level of fear when it comes to when it comes to a people who, geez, how do I say this? Whose values don't align to my types of values, where I would just actually allow, accept other people to practice what they choose to be able to practice without hindering them or um, forcing opinions and.
Okay, this is Clown World. Notorious, do you want to come up and say anything? I know you're a long-time Clown House user. I know that stupid PTR for a long time. I done seen that stupid PTR. I bet you there's a stupid person behind it. Welcome, 824. Welcome to the Clown World. Welcome to the Clown World. Anybody want to come up and say anything?
Да нет, там просто звонок приходит люди непонятно.
Как дела, comrade? How are you doing? Where is my money? I sent you the special secret spy plans from the NSA and you have not given me my money and we wanted mutual cooperation.
Ну, съебался.
Я хочу интернета. Я хочу самолет. Comrade, I want to be president of Presidium. Can you make this happen for me? Welcome, Notorious One.
My mind. Да.
Nothing. I'm sitting here trolling in the Clown Town. What are you doing today?
Just hanging out on the Clown House streets.
Are you?
So I came in here to see what you had going on.
This is a happiness check. Are you gentlemen happy men?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Oh, that's nice to hear. What about you?
Life is a pursuit of happiness, right? You have to find that for yourself.
I agree. What about you, 824? Thank you for those great words. What about you, 824? Are you a happy man, comrade? Hello? That is an impersonation of Borat doing Jazzy. Hello?
So, you do a YouTube podcast as well?
Yep, you're on YouTube right now.
So we're live.
Aren't we always?
What do you talk about in your podcast?
Aren't we always alive?
Yeah. So, what do you address in your podcast? Like, talk about relationships, social issues, politics. Like, what do you talk about?
All those things. Yeah, everything under the sun, basically. Sir Vic, welcome back to the Clown Podcast. Go to Go to clownpodcast.com. Welcome, Sir Vic. All hail Sir Vic. Hello?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. We were just talking about communication. It's been such an exhausting day already. I feel like I've already gone to work. Life is funny, Notorious One. You know, people smile at you, and in the back of their heads, they're thinking, oh, I can't wait to roast you, bitch. Can't wait to toast you and slice and dice you. Welcome to the Clown World.
So, what's your thoughts on people in general?
They're just like you and me. I'm just like all other people. All other people are just like me. There's really no difference. I would say the only real difference is, what you carry with you. What, 824?
You mean like baggage?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you carry with you? I can tell you what I carry with me.
What do you carry?
It's like asking somebody, who are you? Or it's like asking somebody to remember self, or self-remembering. Meaning that who are you can be answered in by saying, where are you from? Or where are you really from? Or what's your ultimate source of origination? That's who you really are. I mean, that's kind of what I carry around. That's my baggage. It's my trip, baby. I'm just trying to trip you out. So you asked me, what do I like to talk about on my podcast? And you know what I have found to just, and I heard somebody say this in a Bitcoin room yesterday. This was probably the best gem I ever heard from a Bitcoin room. Somebody said, I met this guy who's like all into pickup artists. He's like meeting chicks and getting laid, and he's a pickup artist, and he's a neurolinguistic programmer, and he's a master hypnotist. And his favorite line to say to girls in the bar is, pretend you're hypnotized. And then whatever he wants to say, like, pretend you're hypnotized, give me your telephone number. Pretend you're hypnotized, let me get you a drink. Pretend you're hypnotized, what's your name? You see what I'm saying? Because look at the words. Pretend, pretend, which means be playful. Let's pretend. It's like being kids all of a sudden. It's like if words are magic, you can technically induce somebody immediately with just one word. So that's something I like to talk about. That's something I'm kind of thoroughly researching and exploring and testing and proving, and it just seems to hold true over and over again, which is that all communication is hypnosis. So that's what I spend a lot of my time discussing and saying, because it's kind of trollish and it's very subversive. It's like cutting right to the heart of the issue right away, especially with a woman. Immediately talk about hypnosis. I mean, I guess it would be, what's probably the most obnoxious thing in the world is to talk about hypnosis and self-actualization all the time. Because those two things is not something that a lot of people spend much time thinking about or talking about, but they're two very important topics in my opinion. And so it's like, I don't feel like I'm ever going to go crazy talking about self-actualization and hypnosis, because it ends up becoming a hypnosis business. Like Tony Robbins, he's just in the hypnosis business. That's, if you really look at it and you reframe it, Tony Robbins is actually just in the business of hypnotizing. And that's what so many businesses are in the business of, is just hypnotizing. So to answer your question, that's what I would say. And I know you're probably like, right now, you're like, no, it's not true. I don't agree with any of that. I bet you that's exactly what you're thinking. And you're like, no, you're fucking with my brain. I don't agree with that. But then I would just say, okay, tell me what you think. And then I would say, well, what if the opposite of all of that was the truth? Could you accept that? Or could you at least give it a percentage chance that the opposite of what you're saying is true? And you'd be like, yeah, of course. And I'd be like, all right, well, great. Well, then we can both agree that like what I'm saying is not necessarily true and what you're saying is not necessarily true, but some of what I'm saying and what you're saying are true. But chances are percentage chance of what I'm saying is probably more true than what you're saying. That's my opinion. And that is in many ways, sour grapes for you. So that's, again, back to where we started. I mean, do you have sour grapes? Do you carry sour grapes with you? That's kind of what I'm saying, is like baggage is sour grapes, but truth of the matter is baggage is not sour grapes, as long as you get rid of the fucking sour grapes. So how do you get rid of the sour grapes that you carry with you?
Yeah, actually, I agree with you.
Oh!
That's one of the problems. I think that most people don't think. That's the problem.
Right.
They're just,
People act emotionally all the time. What I'm trying to say is like we are more emotionally intelligent than we are intellectually intelligent. And so the problem with that is their whole life is just based on a giant emotional tornado. Literally, their whole life is just a tornado roaming the planet emotionally. And they can't stop it. They haven't figured out how to stop the tornado and completely stop it, make it disappear. The emotional tornado.
right, because
Because
they don't think.
no,
They
what I'm
don't think.
trying to say is the incoming communication is always going to gaslight you. You have to control the incoming communication and start thinking like a lawyer. Lawyers they're totally dispassionate people. You know, the words they say are hypnosis, but they know the proof is in the pudding, which is in what the pen creates. And they leave everything else aside. You know, justice is given to you in the form of a piece of paper at the end of the trial. So look at it that way, that everything we say, everything we think is pretty much irrelevant because it's all passed down through paperwork. The maxim is stop thinking and end your problems. The more you think, the more you speak, the further from the truth you get. So, you know, think a lot, write little, say nothing. Does that make sense, Notorious? Don't
It does.
don't fall for their tricks. They're gonna try to trap you. They're gonna call you. They're gonna email you. They're gonna text you. They're gonna show up at your front door one day. But do not talk to them. Tell them to talk to your attorney.
Yeah, I love to people watch. I kind of use Clubhouse as an experiment for that. I love to study people and figure out what makes people tick, because I feel like the range of human beings is just so broad. You know, like one man is building a spaceship and another man is eating people. You know, so it's just human beings are really interesting.
Well, the thing is, it's really brains are what's interesting, and that's what you can't even see. So what you're really doing is the study of brains, and the thing is, the sounds we make, you know, on this app, what we're thinking, what we're saying, what we're reading. I mean, it's you know, especially in Black Clown House. I assume you're a black man, right?
I am.
I mean, see, the fact that you even say I'm a black man, you know, and I would say based on this, you know, I am a white man. However, we both know that that's not true, that is still just noise,
Right.
that's just sound.
Absolutely.
So you and I have, in my opinion, two major similarities, and that is our brain, and then B, our biophysical mechanical issues, meaning that you and I will both get back pain, sciatica, arthritis, dementia, things like that. Like we're going to have similar biomechanical and physical maladies that are super similar. Like, you know, but if we both did yoga, if we both went to the gym, I mean, we have basically what I'm trying to say is our very similar brains, which are actually probably like identical, that controls your avatar. And so it does come down to biophysical mechanical intelligence. Like, do you do hip rotations every day? You see what I'm saying? You know, like, are we really equal? Are our brains equal? Because I go to the gym, but I also smoke cannabis. I also drink coffee. I also drink red wine. You know, like, but we're also both engaged politically. I mean, we both have social security numbers probably. So that, you know, you could technically do an index rating of everybody's social security number, and that would be like your true quality credit score check. You see what I'm saying? Like every American, based off their social security number, you could assign them some type of a score based on, you know, multidimensional factors. So, but again, what I'm really trying to tell you and get across is essentially Zen theory, which is stop thinking and end your problems. The more you think, the more you speak, the further from the truth you get. And that's what's happening here on Clown House. is everybody is engaged in useless hypnosis discourse. And I'm doing it right now. But I'm trying to at least tell you that that this is the good news. You know, it's the gospel, basically. It's the good news of the spoken word, which is stop thinking and end your problems. Meaning that all the anxiety you could ever experience will never change what's going to happen in the future. And first of all, the future is not even real. There is no future. It's just a concept. And that's the problem with these words and these concepts, which we think are so real, that we are willing to die on a hill over the future, which we know doesn't exist. So you tell me, how is that even logical? It's because it's emotional.
What is that? What do you read?
I'm not reading anything. I'm speaking, Moshe.
Oh. Do you like
So anyways, those are my thoughts. But again, I'm saying all these things, A, because I'm recording a Clown House podcast, and B, because these are things that I've read and kind of, I'm able to regurgitate for you quickly. I would call them like fundamental axioms or fundamental assumptions, or basically just wisdom hypnosis. Yeah. Meaning that the other way to say it is there's not a speck of dust out of place in the whole universe, and you need not worry about your future. And the most valuable object in the whole universe is your brain. So, all the things you do really in this life, in many ways, you should be trying to polish your brain, which means putting in high value information. And I've got a lot of books here. So that's my secret. If I were to give you like the secret of my magic, I could tell you to read the Tao Te Ching. Have you ever read the Tao Te Ching?
No. Tell me about it.
It's an ancient Chinese grimoire from the oldest Chinese sage named Lao Tzu, which means the old goat. You could say that this is like the devil's handbook, meaning that if there's good and evil, or God is the all, this book deals with the all. It deals with the universe. And this is a 2,300-year-old book that talks about universal intelligence and essentially gnosis, or unity versus non-duality, meaning that the human brain, when it uses this book, you're able to essentially transcendentalize or transfigure into the Godhead. So it's a hypnosis document for gnosis. I call it hypnosis, gnosis, or gnosis, hypnosis. Or you could say all communication is hypnosis, or communication is hypnosis. But this book is essentially a very powerful communication, which means it's a very powerful hypnosis. And I use it all the time to essentially change reality in my own mind's eye. Obviously, I can't, you see what I'm saying? Where it's like, you can hack reality by hacking your brain. This is why that movie, The Matrix, is so popular, because they're all looking for this. They're looking for this one book. And Alan Watts, he says that this is what secretly everyone's really looking for. They just don't know about this book. But it's the first book ever made printed on metal plates in China.
How do you spell it?
Tao, Tao, which means God or the way, and then Te, which is, I think, action or something like that. But Dao and Te are connected somehow. But anyways, Te, and then Ching, Ching, Dao De Jing, Ching. And you can go on YouTube and just listen to the audiobook. It's only an hour long. It's only an hour.
I'm trying to find it now. I'm on YouTube. Tao is Te is Te, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read it here on this app yesterday, and it was like, whoa, very powerful hypnosis.
Yeah, 1 hour and 42 minutes. Yeah, I found it. I'm gonna listen to it. I always try to find stuff interesting to listen to. Sometimes Clubhouse doesn't do it for me. So
Are you a Christian, a baptized Christian, or what's your religion?
yeah, I follow the tenets of
Christ.
Judeo religion. Yes.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, if you were to say I'm a Muslim or a Buddhist or a Hindu or a Christian, or it does not matter. Or you Jewish, it does not matter. This book it's undeniable that this book is essentially universal. So it transcends all world religions. It's just incredible because it's technically like
Well, I think they.
it's like a
Yeah.
software developer's handbook. It's all based on Euclidean mathematics, I guess, or zeros and ones, binary mathematics. Because it's just
Yeah.
it discusses opposites. So like, what is the opposite of you? Like, look at your PTR. Like, why do you think you chose that PTR? Because you still think in terms of race consciousness. So the opposite of you is a white man, or Dave Chappelle in whiteface. Like, that's you trying to be Taoistic. So when you read this book, basically it'll like double your intelligence because you'll start thinking about the opposites of everything, or you'll just stop thinking and you'll just let the simulation flow. That's kind of like the sailing principle or the flow state principle. This book will help induce that in your soul, in your life, in your brain. I mean, it's a powerful book. That's why when I say words like soul, I know that's highly abstract and totally conceptual, but this book pairs with the conceptual. So there is a linguistic poetic freedom which is undeniable. You can't you can't really achieve total perfection of freedom in this reality, but this book does a very, very good job of getting you close psychologically to perfect freedom. And that's what everybody wants to be. They want to be free. They want to get out of the rat race. They want to get out of this fucked up communication situation that you're in. I mean, imagine if you could just drop out, live out the rest of your life, and let everybody else go to World War III, and keep working. For what? When do you retire? And when do you start living? You see what I'm saying? It's like, what's America going to do? Like, how crazy is America? What are they going to do overseas? They're not going to do shit. They just keep selling weapons. So other people do shit. It's crazy.
Yeah. The interesting thing behind this PTR is I didn't always have it, but I actually end up through my experiences here on the Clown House. It's really to challenge the concept of race and how people focus on it a little bit too much. So I certainly agree with you. It's our mind that is the most important, and we focus on things that we can't change. And so that's actually negative. That's negative thinking.
Yeah.
So so I got a little story behind my PTR. Yeah,
look at Chappelle.
To some people.
Chappelle is a hypnotist. His comedy is magic.
Right.
It's not just comedy. It's hypnosis. He is a theater performer, and the Chappelle show is nothing but one giant recording. So look at it in terms of acting, actor, act. Who's acting? Is it real? I mean, are you pulling a fast one? Is it real? I can't tell. He's such a good actor. Is it real? Is he faking it? I don't know. Doesn't really matter, does it? Let the lawyers work it out. So that's the way. That's the way things work. Is the lawyer can't be the actor. The actor is totally free. The lawyer packages it, sells it, chops it up, distributes it, licenses it, monetizes it, delivers it. But the actor is, literally the spirit just dancing. So that's what I think a lot of people who engage in race hypnosis or race communication are failing to enjoy. Is it's not an enjoyable dance. It's maybe fun for once or twice, but like, how many more times are you going to dance the race dance and still call it a dance when it's just wasting your time? You have to learn new dances if you want to win the competition.
Yeah, agreed.
But there's like a component of flexibility in the dance that lets you win. Meaning, how flexible are you? How deep can you bend? So when they come hard, you don't come back hard. You bend. I mean, it's the whole Muhammad Ali jiu-jitsu approach to winning. Be like water. Be like water. Go very low. You see what that means? Go very, very low. This is the whole thing about Hermetic mysticism: is below is above is below is below is above. If you want to agitate above, you got to get really low. That means like get on the ground low, humble yourself, sniff their feet, let them think that they're winning by humiliating you. Get very, very low, and don't say anything. Have you ever seen somebody totally prostrate, like in a movie, where they literally just sprawl on the ground, and willfully accept their punishment? You know what I'm talking about? Like that movie. There's so many movies like that where you see somebody grovel before they get executed or before they get, reprieved. It's an interesting ritual where somebody, totally submits themselves to somebody else's will or dominance or position. Because you can do it through love, but you can also do it through a demonstration of complete and total subjugation. Like, we don't have slavery. We don't know what that's like, what it's like to force people around with whips and guns and shit, It must have been crazy to treat people like that, but just imagine turning humans into like actual robots through total fear. I mean, I've never done it with like real force, you know what I'm saying? With a gun sticking at somebody's face, but a lot of people have done that, It must be a real fucking power trip. People must get a huge dopamine rush from it. I think, do you know anybody that's ever killed anybody?
I do.
So I guess what I'm saying is like there's a whole neurochemical component to that person's actions, that's embedded in their memory, or a desire even prior to doing that, whether it was coordinated or uncoordinated. And I'm just saying that a lot of people like to say, oh, it's genetic. I heard somebody on this app saying that the reason why blacks kill so many people is because it's genetic. And I'm like, it could possibly, you could show the statistics to maybe show that statement is true, but that still doesn't essentially get the genie out of the bottle, which is how do you solve that problem if that's true? Is hypnosis communication a way to decriminalize society? I mean, I think so. Forced hypnosis communication for welfare checks. Like, people have to basically take a drug and go into like a hypnosis session in order to get their welfare check. It's because they basically get deprogrammed from violent activity in order to get the money. Like, I could see a future society like that. Have you ever seen the movie THX 1138?
No, I haven't.
So it's like George Lucas's movie prior to Star Wars, and it's about an underground society that works on like extreme data analytics and efficiency, and everybody has to take a pill, and they have an AI chatbot, and they're all engaged in like nuclear technology because they live underground and they need the nuclear technology for energy. It's a very interesting movie because it's like you can almost fake technology in movies. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not really technology, it's just communication. Like, you should really see that movie. It's a groundbreaking movie because it's all communication is hypnosis, and George Lucas is one of the masters of just making you think that it's reality. But the more you look at that movie,
What's the name of that movie?
THX 1138. It was done as like a college screenplay or something, and then it was so good. It was like his first movie. Like, they made it into the movie because his mini movie was so amazing. People were like, "Holy shit, this guy really can make a movie."
1971, huh?
Yeah, the movie seems like they made that in 2023. It's so good. It's unbelievable.
We'll have to check that out. Yeah. What's your thoughts on consciousness? It seems to me like a lot of people who tend to murder people, they seem to have a lack of self-awareness and really are driven by emotion. What's your thoughts on self-consciousness or self-awareness?
I was at the beach one time. I used to live in Hermosa Beach, and there was this like far out hippie dude who seemed like he was very successful. And I came up to him and I'm like, where are you from? What's going on? And he's like, the prisons are full of people who committed crimes of passion. And I was like, you mean like lover spats? He's like, exactly. Think of all the millions of people in America who are locked up because of crimes of passion. The passionate people. Oh, those passionate crimes. And I'm like laughing. I'm like, this fucking guy. But listen, in terms of like consciousness, look at the word con, which means with, and then con as in like a scammer or a fraud or a deceiver, and then science, con science. That's how you spell it. So look at the science with or without, whether it's fake. Do you know how much science is fake? It's basically bureaucratic, meaning that the pragmatic applications of $100 billion projects have never materialized. So essentially, it's just a job for research and a job for scientists or a job for academia. It's a huge portion of the economy. And this is why Joe Biden has to forgive $100 billion at a time, because people have bought into this lie that you need to take out loans to get an education so you can be smart enough to be a part of the establishment. It's just a giant Ponzi scheme. If you were to have your own library, you have your own university. So, everyone has a local library. They have a university. Everybody has access to the university, but everybody just wants free shit. So, again, what I have discovered is not groundbreaking or revolutionary. Everybody just says, "Oh yeah, duh, I got it." Obviously. But it's just so much more important than that, because once you know that all communication is hypnosis, you'll kind of be aware of the fact that you're aware. You'll realize that you're not really who you think you are. You're like that onion. There's many layers to you, and it's kind of like, well, how do you live in this layer, that layer? Well, you don't. It's still conceptual, but I'm telling you, language, communication, you just haven't been aware of it, but your entire life has been one giant communication trail. And part of dropping out, and tuning in is not letting people get into your communication trail uh, that you don't have to let in. Like, you can block, you can ghost. And I'm doing it right now, like I'm doing it to people and people are doing it to me. But that's our choices. That's our choice. And sometimes it's a legal choice, and sometimes it's a professional choice. Sometimes it's, a personal choice. Sometimes it's a partner choice. Sometimes it's a vendor choice. Sometimes it's a client choice. Sometimes it's a coworker choice. You have this is the amazing thing about communication freedom, is you have the choice to choose who you communicate with, how you communicate with them, and vis-a-vis, meaning that you can choose how they communicate with you. And this is the great thing about ghosting or blocking. It's a hard, bitter pill for people to swallow, but when you've ghosted somebody and they know, and you realize that they fooled you or they tricked you or they okey doked you or that you're the patsy. Do you know what the okey doke is?
No.
Okey doke. It means that all communication is hypnosis. Okey doke. It's like what Warren Buffett says: when you sit down at the poker table, if you can't figure out who the patsy is in 10 minutes, you're the patsy. Okey doke.
Okie doke.
Okey doke. Okie doke. So let me just finish this podcast by asking you, what is the Holy Spirit and how do you demonstrate the Holy Spirit?
The Holy Spirit. That's a good question. I believe that it's sort of our comforter, our protector. Right? We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So I think I would say that it's it helps you with your consciousness or self-awareness for good and evil. That would be how I would explain it. But yeah, Holy Spirit being the Spirit of God, which helps us decipher things that are spiritual and of God versus the other. That's what I would say. Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, so I'm going to ask you again, and I'm glad you're here. And I'm asking these questions, and I'm going to share with you, uh, because you're here. Not because I know you, but because this is my show. And this is what I like to record. This is what I hope is valuable for you. So I don't want to be gay and say brotherly love, but I do want to share with you the magic. So I'm going to ask you again, and then I'll give you my little spiel, and then I will demonstrate it for you. Okay? It's like going to the dentist. I promise this won't hurt. Just stay still. Notorious, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so tell me again, what is the Holy Spirit and how do you demonstrate it?
Well, I'm not sure if I know exactly what it is, but I would say that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and it is like a protector that binds us together in terms of godliness. You know,
Okay. So I would say that there's like two types of spirits, though. There's the spirit of good and there's the spirit of evil, meaning that you can kind of detect evil, meaning that like beauty in many ways can be deceptive, but beauty in many ways is a good indicator of goodness, meaning that when you hear somebody speak, if they sound beautiful, if they look beautiful, well, by God, they must be good. But if you see some nasty piece of shit spewing at the mouth, all kinds of rancid, nasty fucking hate speech, you might come to the conclusion that's a bad spirit. That's an evil spirit. I mean, to me, that's pretty common sense. But if it aligns with your narrative or your sentiment, or it gives you some type of emotional catharsis to hear someone spew hate speech. Like, for example, you know, I could think of a lot of people, particularly founder of Nation of Islam, Louis Farrakhan. Now, you may like Louis Farrakhan. I personally would pay money to see him perform for 2 hours because it's probably it's an entertaining show. I mean, I've watched his YouTube stuff and I'm like, he's a good entertainer. He puts together a good 2 hour podcast. But let's just cut it down to the fact that, bro, you're creating a podcast when you go on stage for 2.5 hours. So what you're really doing is entertaining people and hypnotizing people, and you're taking their money. So it's just a church service. Anyways, I was going to demonstrate the power of the Holy Spirit, and I can do it easily by just reading to you. That's the easiest way to demonstrate it. And there's a variety of books that I have that can demonstrate the power of the Holy Spirit, or essentially it'll give you that tingling feeling as if the Holy Spirit were coming on you. I know this is like ridiculous. The thing is, you can make fun of all this very easily, I've heard. That's what people say. Is all this can be made fun of because the words get pretty dirty, because it's just dealing with, raw nature. Okay, so I'll just read you one page. Just one page, and I think one page will be enough to prove to you that this is a powerful hypnosis communication. So, the best way to do a hypnosis is to close your eyes, take the deepest breath of the day, hold it for 10 seconds. You can also Kegel. This is one page. The great Tao flows everywhere. It fills everything to the left and to the right. All things owe their existence to it, and it cannot deny any one of them. Tao is eternal. It does not favor one over the other. It brings all things to completion without even knowing it. Tao nourishes and protects all creatures, yet does not claim lordship over them. So we class it with the most humble. Tao is the home to which all things return, yet it wants nothing in return, so we call it the greatest. The sage is the same way. He does not claim greatness over anything. He's not even aware of his own greatness. Tell me, what could be greater than this? So that is how you can demonstrate. And people may not like that, but it is theatrical. It is hypnotic. It is high value wisdom. It's logical. It's universal. It's physics. It's psychological. It's economical. It's everything. It's the thing you're looking for. So read it. It's called The Tao Te Ching, or just go on YouTube and listen to the audiobook. But I would encourage you to get the book. It's $5. You should read it out loud once in your life. It might liberate you. Or it might save you. In the material world. You see what I'm saying? Is by getting yourself saved here materially, physically, emotionally, intellectually, psychologically, you're going to save yourself in the here and now, and hopefully in the future, and maybe eternally. That's the biggest kicker. It's like, oh, wow, well, maybe you can, if there is such a thing as the cycle of birth and death, and you're repeating it over and over again, it's possible you could, put an end to the repeating pattern. And it could be a good thing, because, then you can do anything else you want to do. But that's the thing, that's the secret, is you can do it here and now. So the big thing is, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. You have a law which supersedes all these other laws, but you don't want to get caught up in this world's laws, which basically means do no harm, which is like the Google mantra, do no evil, which they do. They do a lot of evil now. So you should do no evil, but let Google do evil. And use Google, but don't do evil. So that's what you're doing. You're on YouTube right now. Ribono Shalom. You're on my podcast. Start catching fish, Notorious, in the same way that I caught you today. Catch other people like fish. I'm telling you, you're the only one here. When I create a room, guess what happens? One person comes in. I catch one person. And look what I've done. I've managed to hypnotize you for 50 minutes now. What do you think about that? Is that a pretty unique capability, or have you enjoyed it? Has it been good for you? I would say so, yes.
Yeah, I definitely learned something. I'm definitely going to read that book. I like to read and learn and study different concepts. So yeah, it was valuable to me. So I got some value out of this hypnosis.
Okay, I'm gonna read to you. I'm gonna read to you a very quick hypnosis, but this one, let me just read you something interesting. This is called "Why Do Men Insist on Innocence in Women?" 1, to flatter their vanity. 2, to give themselves the best chance of escaping venereal disease, propagating their noble selves. 3, to maintain power over their slaves by their possession of knowledge. 4, to keep them docile as long as possible by drawing out the debauching of their innocence. A sexually pleased woman is the best of willing helpers. One who is disappointed or disillusioned, a very physical eczema. 5, in primitive communities to serve as a guard against surprise and treachery. 6, to cover their secret shame in the matter of sex. That's not what I want to read you. I was going to read to you. Where is it? But this law will reframe a lot of shit. This should be like your secret internal rules handbook that supersedes all the other community guidelines, all the manuals. Okay, I found it. Okay, this is called Rights of Man. This is like a really intense hypnosis. Um, but I think it's an important hypnosis. So if you want to hear it, I'll read it. I hope you enjoy it. This is called Rights of Man. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. There is no God but man. And it's a little atheistic, but it says there is no God but man. Have you ever heard of this? Oh.
No, I have not. I mean, I've heard that term that you just used, but I've not heard of the.
It says man though in a capital with a capital M, meaning like that's the real man or the real.
Right.
It's
Right.
not because if the whole
Yeah,
Adam and Eve
that's
story.
kind of true in a sense, right? Like everyone always, says, "Why do you follow this and why do you follow that?" And people with their atheism and different things. And the reality is that I haven't met God, so in a sense, I am following man, right? If I choose to adhere to the Bible principles, those were men that I'm basically following their philosophy, right? Because technically, I haven't met God, so in a sense, yeah, it makes sense, but it just depends on if you believe in a creator. Yeah.
Breath of the day through your nose. Close your eyes. Rights of man, do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law. There is no God but man. This is the poem. Has the right to live by his own law. Man has the right to live in the way that he wills to do. Man has the right to dress as he wills to do. Man has the right to dwell where he wills to dwell. Man has the right to move as he will on the face of the earth. Notice how I said earth, not earth. Earth. Which is interesting. Look at the word earth. What are the first three letters in the word earth? It's a physical anatomy. You know, Notorious. You're in the know now, baby. You one of the lucky ones. Consider yourself one of them lucky ones. The Notorious one. I bet you already think you're lucky, but now you're extra lucky. Let me add you on Instagram.
Y'all heard that before. We're all in control, right? And, you know, it is the pursuit of happiness, right? Like you have to take a look in the mirror, right? About your decisions and reflecting. And as you said, you're carving or blazing your own path. And a lot of times in life, people complain. You know, I say life is about rights and lefts. Sometimes you made a left when you should have made a right. Sometimes you make a right, you shouldn't make a left. You have to be able to adjust and reflect. And carve out your own happiness.
Carve. That's what I'm going to start introducing myself as when I meet girls at their name. I'm like, what's your name? She said, Sarah. And she said, what's your name? I'll say, Carve. What's your name? Carve. Carve. What do you mean, carve? Carve isn't your name. Oh, I carve. I've carved. I am Carve. Shut the fuck up, Carve. Give me a drink, bitch. Okay. 3 cocktails for Carve, please. It's a joke. Just a joke. Do you know who the Leaf Man is?
No.
Oh, he's this guy on Clown House who he wrote something kind of profound to me in the chat the other day. I was like, damn. Damn. Shit was true. I was like, man, how did you know before I knew?
What did he write?
Basically, he said, I have absolutely no expectations for the future. He hasn't given up, and he hasn't said, I got the fuckets, and he doesn't say, who gives a shit? He just said, I got no expectations for the future. Meaning that, like, he's done a very thorough analysis of Clown House, and he's like, yikes. I mean, do you want me to demonstrate what that means?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, let me just give you a random sampling of a voyeuristic people-watching experience. I give you chillism. This is Nathan's room. Nathan is supposedly an ex-soldier, but he runs these mass hypnosis rooms. And if he really wanted to demonstrate chillism, he would actually lead the rooms in meditative hypnosis. Instead, he lets just...
Cindy, please listen. Don't bring your personal stories here. Trust me. People definitely use that against you.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't bring your personal stories here.
Yeah, don't say
I just want to say this to the people who have a problem with abortion. Present your argument, and don't say it's a kid, because if you